Hey, what's up? This is Jake from Chestnut Kama, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to look at one of the games in the speed chess championship between Magnus Carlsen and Alireza Firouzja. I believe this is the last match of the 5 minutes plus one increment time control of the tournament. So the finals in the finals, where Magnus Carlsen and Alireza Firouzja battled for the championship. There were actually three time formats that they played. The first 90 minutes, 5 minutes plus one games, and after that they will have to play 1 hour of 3 plus 1 game, and then the last one would be half an hour of 1 minute plus 1 second increment. So yeah, let's go take a look at this game and see how things unfold here. Here, Magnus is playing white, by the way. So d4 by Magnus, f6 by Alireza, c4 by Magnus, e6, and c3 now. Now we have bishop b4, the Nimzo Indian defense by black. So white can continue with knight f3 or e3 or even queen c2 here. What does Magnus play here? It's knight f3, Alireza castle, bishop d2 by Magnus, d5 by Alireza, e3 by Magnus, opening up this light square bishop in case there's a capture in this pawn here. Knight b d7 develops the other knight by Alireza. Queen b3 by Magnus, attacking the bishop. a5 defends the bishop here by Alireza. C takes d5 by Magnus. Bishop captured the knight on c3. B captured the bishop. And here, black continued to capture the pawn on d5. And c4 by Magnus. Here, Alireza rerouted his knight to b6, threatening to capture this pawn in case Magnus does not take this pawn here. And so Magnus went on to capture the pawn on d5. And before capturing by Alireza, there are three ways you can capture this with both one of these knights here or even the queen. Before doing that, he developed his light square bishop through f5, eyeing this diagonal here. Bishop e2 by Magnus develops his own light square bishop and looking to castle kingside. a4 by Alireza attacks the king. The queen attacks the queen. Queen a3. Queen a3, looking at this dark square diagonal here since Alireza had no more dark square bishop on the board. And Alireza captured the d5 pawn. Rook c1 by Magnus, looking at this pawn here. Bishop e6 by Alireza, double attacks the pawn on a2. Now Magnus, he can take this pawn, but then Alireza can just take this and everything will still be equal. Not really a big advantage for Magnus if he takes this pawn here. So he does not take the pawn here. He defends his a2 pawn by going rook c2. And then we have c6 by Alireza, defends his pawn by moving forward to c6. Magnus finally castles. Knight b d7 by Alireza. Rook fc1, making a battery for this file here by Magnus. Rook f e8 by Alireza. Rook b2. So Magnus actually changed his mind. He went for rook b2 and attacked his pawn here. Alireza defends it by going b5. Bishop b4 by Magnus, making use of this dark square bishop. That's not actually doing anything on the d2 square. So he He changed position and then makes use of it. Bishop f5 by Alireza. Knight d2 by Magnus, looking to go f3 and attack on the center. Alireza went on to knight e5, knight e4, challenging Magnus to exchange knights, but Magnus did not exchange knight. He went f3. Alireza take the knight himself. Magnus recaptured with the rook. Bishop g6. Bishop moved away from this potential e4 fork. e4 anyway by Magnus. Queen e6 by Alireza. Queen c3. Queen c3 now by Magnus, eyeing this pawn here. Knight f6. So here, you might say Magnus can take this pawn here, but actually it's, if he takes this, he will likely lose a piece. Let's just say he takes this with a queen. And now we have rook ec8 by Alireza. Let's just say they exchanged queen. Magnus captures the queen on e6. And here Alireza can take the rook on c1 with a check to the king. King goes to f2. And only now Alireza captures the queen, and Alireza is up a piece. And he is winning this game. So Magnus did not take it. Instead, he develops his other rook. He goes rook d to c2. Now, forming a battery on this pawn right here and looking to continue the attack in the center. Rook a c8 defense by Alireza. Magnus pushed in the center d5. C takes d5, and here we have Magnus sacrificing his queen for the two rooks of Alireza. Captures the queen by Alireza. Rook captures rook with a check. Alireza blocks it with a knight. And here Magnus continued with e takes d5, a brilliant move by Magnus. Attacks the queen. If Alireza takes a pawn here, there's a mate. And if he takes the bishop that's hanging on e2, say he takes the bishop on e2, then there's rook e1, attacks the queen. Queen cannot take the rook because it's defended by this bishop right here. And queen goes away, let's just say d3, and then still a mate, right? You have to give up your queen in order for you to not get checkmated, but it'll be just the same. So check, then you capture, and there it is. You go near the knight, should be 4, and still a mate. So yeah, he went for queen e3, checks the king. King goes to f1, and here Alireza is on a time scramble. Here he's only had 16 seconds on his clock. He thought for a couple of more seconds, and then he went bishop d3, and after this move, he only had 1.9 seconds on his clock. So Magnus takes advantage of it by taking the knight on e8. Queen captures the rook, and then Magnus captures the bishop on d3. Alireza only had one queen versus bishop pair and the rook with passed pawn here for Magnus. Alireza continued to g6. g6 by Magnus. Queen e6 by Alireza. Looking to attack this pawn here. a3 connects the pawn to the bishop. Queen d5 attacks the other bishop. The large square bishop goes to e2. h5 by Alireza, and here we have rook d1 with a tempo to the queen, and Alireza just let his time run out and lost the final match of the 5+1 time control. So what do you do here if you're Alireza? So let's just say you try to defend this pawn. You go queen e8, d7 anyway, so where do you go? There's only one thing you can do here. You block the queen to d8. And then there's bishop a5, attacks the queen. You capture the bishop. Pawn promotes the queen with a check. Capture with the queen. Rook captures the queen with a check. King g7, and then bishop captures the b5 pawn, and simply white is simply winning here. It's GG for black. So yeah, that's it. This was the last game of the 5+1 time control, and I believe there are a couple more games after this one, the 3+1 and the 1+1 time controls. And actually, Magnus won the tournament. So congratulations to Magnus for winning this speed chess championship. Okay, so that's it. Thank you for watching and have fun playing chess.